The third thing, oh my God, the third thing was it be your own people. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. You're watching Watch This, where I discuss film and television reviews as well as screenwriting tips for beginning writers. So we're gonna just jump right in. Today we're gonna be talking about the new Netflix film called Shirley, where it follows a little brief introduction of Shirley Chisholm and her run as the first Black woman to run for president, the first Black person ever, and as well as the first woman to run for president. So, jumping off, when I initially saw the trailer for this, I was already intrigued because it had a heavy hitter cast. It had Regina King as Shirley Chisholm. It had Lance Reddick, who played Mac, her campaign advisor. It had Terrence Howard in it as well, and I believe he was her like treasurer. So he handled like raising money and all of her finances. Who else did I notice that was in it? Andre Holland was in it. And a few other people that was in it that we kind of learn more as we go through the story. But I was initially intrigued. And unfortunately, I'm so sad to say this, but I was not taught about Shirley Chisholm in school. The way that I learned about Shirley Chisholm is quite, I don't want to say it's embarrassing, but I learned about Shirley Chisholm from Spike Lee. That's how I learned about Shirley Chisholm. I did not know she was the first Black woman to run for president. And I'm usually like kind of locked in about a little bit about Black history, but just the same way that I did not know anything about Katherine Johnson with Hidden Figures and all of those women, it's just kind of the same thing where a lot of this information is trickled down and put through the cracks. So a lot of people, when you're not in that generation or that era, you pretty much it may fall through the cracks. But we have this Netflix film to help educate people on who Shirley Chisholm is. Well, this film was directed by John Ridley, and I have to say I love the way it jumped right in. We don't get a lot of backstory of Shirley. This wasn't like a coming of age of like how she became. No, it jumped right in. So we immediately see her going to DC to take her picture because she is the newly elected Black woman in Congress. So she's right there at Capitol Hill with all of the other majority white men. And we kind of see instantly the little things that she goes through. I love the way it really was a fast paced film where it jumped right into the action. And without any spoilers, I just want to talk about a few things that I really took from the story. So I'll just say this as like the premise. So we see her initiated into Congress, and she gets a visit from Mac, who um, became her advisor, but he was the one, and I think it was like bedside counsel. She was in Brooklyn Community College, and he basically taught her everything she knew, and that's how they got the relationship. Well, he came to visit her along with Arthur, who was played by Terrence Howard, and they basically was like, listen, you when you were in Florida, you announced, if you guys, raise money for me and raise $5,000 for me, I will put my name on the ballot to run for president. And they said, not only did they raise $5,000, they actually raised $10,000. So what are you going to tell them? And she was like, well, I'm running for presidency then. And she's just like, I have young white boys in college coming up to me like, Shirley Chisholm, when are you going to run for president? When are you going to do this? And it's just like, she's like, the people really did believe in her. Like, that's one thing. Like, there's a few things that I wanted to discuss. I would say four things that I took from this. So first of all, ambition. Like, Shirley's ambition, it really speaks to the idea of like, you cannot be afraid to fail. because even looking at her story, like we all know, this isn't a spoiler, you know, she did not win the election, but it's how she got to where she was and the powers around her that blocked that. Because honestly, she could have won. She could have been in the primary um, final two. She could have, but you're gonna see how that unfolded. And I have to say, it was an amazing story to see. But it was her ambition that kind of drove her, that the people really believed in her. And she wasn't afraid to fail. And can't wasn't a word that she wanted to hear. So she was very, even like there's one conversation that she had with Robert, who was a student of hers. I think he was an intern. He interned for her. And she was like, I want you to be my national student coordinator to like organize everything. Because she said, there's going to be a lot of students that this is going to be their first year to vote. And I feel like you can tap into those individuals to give them a voice of understanding why their vote is significant. And he was like, I don't know, I'm only 21. And she was like, okay, like, let's get to it. He was like, you know what? Let's do it. And through that, he was able to do great things. Like, he organized, like, you would see him, like, I'm setting up all of this stuff in Florida. And it just really goes to show, like, sometimes when you have someone to kind of push that effort forward, you start to understand, like, I could do this. Like, I can have everything together. But yeah, she was so ambitious. And, like, just to see, like, the things that were put against her, oh my God, like, just like the attacks, like, you know, back then, like, uh assassinations was real, okay? Like, people were getting assassinated left and right. And just like the attacks on different politicians was just really crazy. And just like, she really believed in her message. And it was just like really, it just was really a breath of fresh air to kind of see that play through this film. Also, unconventional approach, that was the second thing. Like we have to understand, and I think like I could take this, apply these things to my life. You can apply these things to your life. She was the first black woman to run for president, to run to be president, right? In the primaries, run to get to the primaries, right? She, one thing that really irked me, she had her campaign manager, Stanley. Stanley was I believe he was a campaign manager. And he's like, we need to have this run like this and this, and this. And he was doing things the way he would do it for men or everyone else that came before him, right? Before her. She did not approach it that way. And I'm like, the things that she was doing made sense because you can't do it this conventional way. I mean, you can do it that way, but an unconventional approach made more sense because I'm not a conventional person. People trying to, there's going to be people that don't want to vote for me. So you saying go to this state, you got to go to this state. It just didn't strategically. It wasn't making sense for the circumstances that they were in. So she had a different approach, and it actually worked. It got her through. And this, just even like, there's something in the film where she had to sue somebody, which that's very unconventional. Nobody has ever did that. And you'll see how it played out. And it's just like, these were the things she had to do, unconventional things, because she wasn't the standard candidate. So she had to go through it a different way. Even her hiring Robert, the national student coordinator, that was very unconventional because when Stanley saw her, he was like, he's pretty, yeah, the student part fits the bill. He's like, I'm 21, I'm old enough to go to Vietnam, okay, right? Like, he old enough to go to Vietnam to fight for this country, so he's old enough to coordinate some organization meetings, okay? Like, please. So she had to do unconventional things. A young lady, Barbara, like, came up to her when she was campaigning. They had a conversation, and she was like, I want you to work for me. And you know what else there was something really important that she said. Like Barbara was pretty much, she was like, you know, like I really want to make a difference. I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And she was like, well, you can start by are you registered to vote? She was like, no, this is the bourgeoisie. And I'm like, Black people, we gotta get out of that because, girl, voting is so significant. Like, it is very significant. So she was like, you just out here yelling and complaining, but you not registered to vote. That sound like a odd fit to me. Like, it's counterintuitive. Like, it's not making any sense. So that even convinced her, like, you know what, let me register to vote, let me start being active. And she became a volunteer on you know, her campaign. And she actually did make a difference. She set up a really great meeting. I'm not gonna say what it was, but she was able to set up a really great meeting for her to get um some delegates, like to get some people to vote for her in a city that she did not want to kind of go through because it was a huge, excuse me, it was a huge state. So just like doing it in an unconventional approach, not, if you don't sometimes have to do it the way everyone has done it, especially if you are new to something and you are not the conventional person for the job, or you can do it differently. The third thing, oh my God, the third thing was it be your own people. When y'all will see how people folded on her, like I was like, well, this is politics. And like, and you know what else? Like, what I loved about her own people, whether it be her allies, whether it be Black people, whether it be women, because you know the feminist movement during that time was very vocal about different things. And they had a clip of Gloria Steinem saying that she would vote for McGovern over Shirley Chisholm. Now listen, I understand, like, just because somebody is a woman and you're a woman, you don't have to vote for them. But her politics, like what she was saying was legit, at least unless that didn't align with her views. Okay, because sometimes it be your own people, whether it be autonomy or whether it be skin. Okay, so I was just like, and that was one of the things that she kind of was heartbroken by. I don't want to say heartbroken, but she was like, why aren't the women like supporting me? Like, why aren't white women supporting me? Like, I was always there for them. And one thing that Arthur said that I thought was so important to take from this film. If you thought this, if you, I was about to, because if you thought this was going to be easy, you're delusional. You can't be, that's the thing, you cannot be afraid to fail. If you think it's going to be easy and you're breaking like she was the first, right? This is not going to be easy. So you have to understand that it's not going to be easy. So you're going to have to either push through or hang it up. So that really was something that I kind of like. It's not going to be easy. Even a writer, you want to be a writer, you want to start a business, whatever, it's not going to be easy. But you have to push through, and you may fail, but then you can try again or try something different or do it unconventionally. Like, you just have to try. So that was another thing that I got from this. Another thing, ooh, child, karma. Karma. So really quickly, this is the last thing. Karma. This was one of the biggest things. We're like, a lot of like the Democrats was like, oh, we don't want another 4 years of Nixon. We don't know another 4 years of Nixon. The karma was, y'all gonna see what happens in the film. I'm not gonna spoil it, but we all know that Richard Nixon won, right? But a few years later, Watergate happened. So they didn't get another 4 years to run. And the people that played her, they played themselves. And then Richard Nixon was impeached because of Watergate. So I'm just like, y'all did all of that. Y'all burned some bridges. And she was just so forgiving. Like, even in the film, she was like, I don't have any ill will. Even her visiting George Wallace, like, She did, like, she was a good woman, okay? She was a good woman. She was a good woman. And she was a politician too, because even there was a scene where Mac was like, Shirley is about the necessary. And I think that's why it's so easy for her to forgive. She's more about the necessary. Like, there was a scene where Mac was like, listen, I told her everything she knew, and she went to go run against me and like the bedside politician council or whatever, that little political scene that there was, and she ran against him, and he told her everything she knew, and she thought it was necessary that she was a better candidate, so she ran against him. So she understood the game, but the way they did her was dirty. I don't care what nobody say, but karma came out in the end, and I would even go to say that she, even though she was the first black person to run for a presidency candidate, I would even say she was the catalyst for Jimmy Carter to get elected, because people didn't know who the hell Jimmy Carter was. They was like, Jimmy who? Like, who Carter who? I forgot. Like, if you ever, oh my God, y'all, Time magazine. Wait, did they talk about Shirley? I might be lying about the Spike Lee thing. It might have been in the Time, because I watched the Time documentary. Time has like decades of documentaries, like the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. If you can catch that, I highly recommend. And it's not just about American culture. They have other things about like when the Britain Great Wall of Britain was knocked down and all of that stuff. They talked about just the important things that happened um, throughout history. It was really good, and I actually, she might have been in it. It's either that or Spike Lee, one of those two. Though that was the first time um, I heard of Shirley Chisholm, and yeah, so yeah, I would even say like Jimmy Carter probably wouldn't have got picked if it wasn't for her like breaking that catalyst of like, listen, like I'm just gonna go for it, and people being fed up, like yeah, the people are speaking. We're gonna vote for this person. But yeah, so that was just a little um review of, like, I have to say, like, the pacing of the story, the casting, the acting was good. The script, I liked the way we just jumped right in. We didn't get a lot of backstory of like her growing up as a child wanting to be a teacher. Like, we didn't get any of that. We got like right this period from her getting elected into the first black congresswoman to running for presidency, and that happening. Like, it was just about that. It was just really good, really, it was done really well. Like I said, heavy hitter cast. Really enjoyed that. Um, I love the honesty, even like the the kind of like conflict with her family. We got a little bit of her family life, her relationship with her husband, relationship with her sister. We saw that, and then like we saw how her allies kind of folded on her, which was messed up. But anyway, that concludes my review. I would give this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it a 10 because I love the way we just jump right in. And it kind of like, it really did, it was entertaining, and it made me go back and I referenced things. I'm like, was this true? Did this really happen? And it really did. So it was like very much factual. It wasn't like Hidden, not to diss, I'm not dissing Hidden Figures, but the scene in Hidden Figures where Kevin Costner kind of like bangs down the like tears down the bathroom sign, that didn't happen. Like, I don't, they didn't have any things like that in this film. And I love Hidden Figures. I'm just saying, like, I just wanted to see how accurate it was, and it was. So please, if you like this review, comment, like, subscribe. Yeah, let me know if you guys watched the film, if you're going to watch the film. Yeah, so thank you again for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.